The weather sucks today. I feel really lazy and bummed out because the weather directly affects my mood and whether I'm motivated or not, and I'm not really motivated to do any type of work. So why not talk to you guys? So throughout my time working on YouTube and making videos, a lot of people have come to me talking about how they wanted to start a YouTube channel. And unlike a lot of people, I think that there's room for many people to be on YouTube. Now it may seem like there's a lot of competition on YouTube and people are just, you know, judging each other by the amount of subscribers they have, the amount of likes, comments, and all that stuff. I think that's completely unnecessary, and I think that there's room for anybody to make videos on YouTube. And the reason for that is because as YouTube creators are growing, the number of people watching YouTube and people engaging with YouTube is also growing. So there's always going to be enough audience members for everybody. But one thing that can be extremely intimidating for somebody who's thinking about getting into YouTube is trying to figure out the whole camera setup, the microphone, the lights, and all of this. And I've been seeing that people are investing a lot of money into cameras and they aren't receiving the picture quality that they were looking for. And this is probably because people aren't putting the right settings into their camera. To put it into analogy is as if you bought a really fast sports car and you don't really know when to shift and you're not reaching the full capabilities of the car. That's exactly the same thing on a camera. You can get a $1,000 camera and get a horrible picture quality if you're not putting in the right things. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to completely ruin this image that I've got right now. I'm going to have it overexposed, out of focus, all this type of stuff, and we're going to work together on trying to create this image that we have that seems a little bit more professional. So here we go. Okay. So as you can tell, everything has completely changed, including the light, the scenery, and even the audio, because I disconnected the microphone that I had attached to the top of the camera. Now we're going to focus on each of these aspects one by one and try to get back to that image that we had before. So first off, let's start with lighting. Now you may think all you need to do is point a light directly in front of you, and while that might work for many people, it's most likely not the ideal situation. The most ideal situation is to have some type of 3-point light. And 3-point essentially means 2 in front of you at a 45-degree angle to your face, as well as something from behind you that's kind of, you know, giving you a hair light. What that does is it creates a separation between you and the background. And what's most important is that you have a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, and that's what a hair light or a backlight does. So I've got 3 lights over here. I've got one over here at a 45-degree angle. I've got one underneath me to kind of fill up the shadows of my chin. And I've got a backlight right here acting as my hair light. So let's turn those on. If I can just find the button for this. Okay, that's one. Now see this shadow down here? We're gonna turn this one. There goes that shadow. And then the last one. Now we've got our 3-point lights. We've got a light over here, we've got a light down here, and we've got our hair light. But what can you guys see based on what you see on the screen right now? I am too overexposed. And this kind of gets into our camera settings. So we've got 3 settings, main settings that we want to focus on. We've got the ISO, we've got the aperture, and we've got the shutter speed. All 3 of these settings kind of focus on how light is absorbed through the lens and through the camera. Think of ISO as some type of artificial light. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to absorb as much light to make up for all the other settings. And a byproduct of having a high ISO is having a grainy image, and you can kind of tell that the image is a little bit grainy. So that's the first thing that we want to take care of. We want to make sure our image is not grainy. So I'm going to take down the ISO as much as we can. So there, ISO going down. Cool. So as you can tell already, we're a little bit better. The next thing is the aperture. The aperture controls how much light is able to go throughout the lens. And the aperture is usually measured by f-stop, which is like 1.8, 2.8, 4.5, whatever the case is. It's all based on the lens on your camera. Now, most of the time you want to open it completely wide. The best part of having a very low aperture is it gives you a very blurry background, and that's something that we call bokeh. It makes the image look pretty professional. So we're going to drop this lens right here is a 1.8, so we're going to drop it all the way to 1.8. Let's see how that looks. Awesome. So once again, we're overexposed. which means that we can drop the ISO. We can drop the ISO even more, which is going to give us an even smoother image and less grainy. So I think right there, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, the last thing is our shutter speed. The rule of thumb for shutter speed is you keep it double your frame rate. So if you're filming in 30 frames a second, you'll do 1/60th. If you're filming in 60 frames a second, you'll do 1/120th. So right now we're filming in 60 frames per second, so we're going to make this 1/120th. Beautiful. Okay. Now, we kind of got our shot over here, so I think we're good when it comes to these lights pointing at me. Now, to kind of spice things up, you want to kind of add a light in the background. So I've got an LED over there that I'm going to turn on. There we go. Now, as you can tell, that kind of creates a separation between me and the wall, and it's, you know, makes it look pretty cool. Now that we've got our lights, I'm properly exposed, this kind of looks professional. We've got the background light, we've got all of our settings inside the camera. Now we're going to connect the microphone. Now I highly suggest investing in a microphone, an external microphone, and not use the microphone on board just because the microphone built into the camera is not that great. So we're going to plug this in. Test. Okay. Right there, we should be able to tell a huge difference in the quality of the sound. So as you guys can see, we went from completely messed up settings. We were able to dial in our settings based on the lighting configuration that we had, and based on those settings, we're able to come out with this image, which looks extremely professional. We've got me that's well lit in the front. We've got the background that has good separation. We've got that bokeh, which means that the background's a little bit blurry. And we're off to making YouTube videos. So I highly encourage that if you wanted to make YouTube videos and the whole idea of being able to control cameras and lighting and all this type of stuff was intimidating to you, that you just get straight into it. Everybody goes through this, everybody's able to learn. There's a ton of YouTube videos and things like that out there. So if you're seeing this, I highly encourage you start. See you guys next time.